This will be the layer 2 switching video, and when I think of layer 2, I'm thinking of MAC addresses, I'm thinking of VLANs, I'm also thinking of spanning tree, CDP, which is actually a layer 2 technology. And these are the first things that come to mind when I think of layer 2, and we're going to be covering most of those in this part of the series. So let's have a look at the topology that we're going to be using. And we have, oh yeah, also you're thinking of trunks and access ports and trunk ports. And we have three hosts on the left hand side, host 1, host 2, host 3, which connect into Nexus RC Nexus 1. There's a trunk that is going to be configured as a port channel to Nexus 2, and Nexus 2 has three hosts as well, which are host A, host B, and host C. And what I'll do, I'll be segregating the traffic with VLAN, so it'll be something like host 1 connects to host C, host 2 connects to host A, host 3 connects to host B. So we'll have 1C, 2A, and 3B. And we'll segregate those into VLAN so that they can communicate with each other, but they'll only be able to communicate with each other, not going to be able to communicate with any other hosts. So let's start with that configuration. And I already have Nexus 1 and Nexus 2 open. And if I do a show MAC address table, guys, I have a request from you. If you're enjoying the free content, I'm looking to increase my subscriber count to 4,000 subscribers by June. But I can only do that if you give me the play special. Do you want to know what the play special is? Press like and yeah, subscribe. Okay, back to the video. We can see that we're not learning any MAC addresses, so we need to do our VLAN configuration and our access port configuration. And what I can do, if I do a conf t, if we say interface E1/1 to 3, this is how you do a range command on the Nexus. You just have to say the interface name, and then put a dash, and then the other interface. We're going to make these switch ports. Switch port. Now I'm going to separate them out because the switch port's going to be separate. So interface 1 will be switch port. I could have done it actually mode access. And switch port access. First it's going to be VLAN 10. Even though I haven't actually created VLAN 10, that might be an issue. Let's no shut that interface. Before I continue, let's create the VLANs. So first one's going to be VLAN 10. And there's a knob that we could use here. So if I wanted a super long name, like name is going to be router coach. You have to put a dash, you can't put spaces. Router coach, expert, engineers, only allowed on this VLAN. Let's just have something like that. Oh, it actually took that. So I may already have this command in. The command that you would need to have super long names like this, you'd have to have something like, it's called, I think it's system VLAN, and then the long name. And that's how it takes the extra long names. Now if we do a show VLAN brief, and we can see that it's taken this extra long name. Now if I take out this no system long name, no system VLAN long name, oh come on, have long name configured, hence disabling. All right, okay. It's already got a long name in, so I can't get rid of it. Anyway, all you need to know is that if you want a super long name, you need to set the system VLAN long name to allow that to happen. Let's continue. VLAN 20. The name is going to just be router coach. VLAN 20. You do type exit to apply that, and then VLAN 30. Name is router coach. VLAN 30. Exit. Let's see if those VLANs have been configured. Show VLAN brief. Yeah, and they've been configured. Now what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to do our trunk as well. And when I do the trunk, I'm also going to make them bonded so that they're in a port channel. When they're in a port channel, then we've got redundancy. If one of the physical links goes down, you've still got a trunk link across to the other side. And the trunk links are on ports 4 and 5. So E1, 4 to 5. Switch port. Switch port mode is trunk. And we're going to put these into an ether channel or a port channel. And to do that, we say channel group 1. I'm going to say mode active. Now, when we do mode active, what is this doing? This is enabling LACP on the port channel. And I will say no shut. And now I'm going to say for the port channel, we're going to make that a trunk. Switch port trunk. Switch port mode is trunk. So now we have our ether channel or our port channel, and to verify that, we say show port channel summary. And this tells us a lot of stuff here. So we can see the key above, and here we see that Ethernet interface 1/4 and 1/5 are members of the port channel. The small s means that they're currently suspended. They're using the protocol LACP. Big S means that it's a switched, so it's a layer 2 port channel and it's currently down. Lots of information there, lots of helpful information there. Okay, let's have a look to see if we are seeing the MAC addresses. So show MAC address table, and we're seeing the MAC addresses coming in. So currently Ethernet 1/2 is in VLAN 1, which is not what I want, but Ethernet 1/1 is in VLAN 10, and that's probably because I've only configured VLAN 10. So show run interface Ethernet 1/1. That is currently configured as an access port in VLAN 10. But if I look on Ethernet 1/2, it doesn't have any configuration. So we're going to continue with that now. Interface E1/2, switch port, mode is access, and switch port, access, VLAN 20. No shut. And the last interface on this side, interface E1/3, switch port mode is access, switch port access is VLAN 30. No shut. Let's check our MAC address table again. Show MAC address table, dynamic. Okay, they're coming in slowly. I don't know why this last one is not coming in. Let's clear our MAC address table. Clear MAC address table, dynamic. Show MAC address table. Here we go. So we've got VLANs 10, 20 and 30. Excellent. Now we need to do the same on the other side, but let's just first check our port channel as well. Show run interface PO1. and our port channel is trunking. We can also do something like, actually I will do that here. So on the port channel, conf T interface PO2, we're just going to allow those particular VLANs to cross the trunk link. So for switch port trunk, allowed VLAN, the only VLANs that are allowed to cross this trunk are VLAN 1, 10, 20, and 30. Oh, that's PO2. Sorry, I got the wrong one. So PO1. And if I say show interface trunk, we can see now that the only VLANs allowed to cross this trunk are 1, 10, 20, and 30. Excellent. All right, so we're going to do that same configuration on Nexus 2. So for our interface range of E1/1 to 3, we're going to make that switch port, make those switch port. They're also going to be switch port mode of access. We're going to no shut those interfaces, and then we're going to do the individual ports. And I said 1C, 2A, and 3B, so just to try and keep things in order. So interface E1/1, that will be switch port, that is going to host A. So switch port access VLAN 10, I think that's the way it is. And for interface E1/2, that will be VLAN 20. Is it VLAN 20? No, that's VLAN 30. And for interface E1/3, this 3, I confused myself. So 1C. So C is VLAN 10, which is this one. So int E1/1 should be VLAN 20. Wow. Right, let's have a look. Do show, I didn't create the VLANs as well. I'm just going to make those quickly. Exit, VLAN 10, exit, don't need to name them. VLAN 20, exit, and VLAN 30, exit. Show VLAN brief. We have those VLANs. Show MAC address table. Nothing at the moment. Let's have a look. Show int brief. Do I have those interfaces up? The interfaces are up. Haven't done the trunk at the moment. Show MAC address table. Okay, the VLANs have come through now. Now to do the port channel configuration. Interface E1/4 to 5. Switch port. Mode is trunk. Now what I could do for the channel group, I could either make it active or passive. If it's active, it will be actively looking to establish an LACP peering. But if it's passive, it will not actively look to establish one, but it will respond to one. And I will make this side passive. Mode is passive. And no shut those interfaces. And for the port channel, PO1, just say switch port. Mode is trunk, and it will be allowing all of the VLANs on this side by default, which we could check with the show interface trunk, and we can see VLANs 1 to 4094 are allowed. Okay, that's excellent. So if I do a show MAC address table now, yeah, so we see 10, 20, and 30. Now what I'm expecting is if I ping from some of these hosts, that we should see the MAC addresses of the other side coming in on the port channel. So let me just open up one of those hosts now, and let's have a look at that topology again. So we have 1C, so 1 should be able to ping host C, so 103. We have 2A, 2 should be able to ping 101, and we have 3B, 3 on this side should be able to ping 102. I'm going to open up host 1. So I've opened up host 1. Let me just enable that and see what the IP addressing is. Show IP interface brief. We have the IP addresses there. Now to find out what the IP address is on the other side, if I didn't know it, I would ping the broadcast address. So if I said ping 10.1.1.255, and honestly, only if we're on host 1, only 103 should respond. So I should only get a response from 10.1.1.103. Well, let's see. So the first dot is for an ARP. Yes, exactly as I think. So that configuration is correct. So we're getting a response from 10.1.1.103. But if we look at the diagram again now, I would expect on Nexus 2, so from host 1, a packet will come into the switch and then go across the port channel. So we should now see host 1's MAC address coming in on P01 on Nexus 02, on Nexus 2, and let's check that. So on Nexus 2, if we do a show MAC address table, we see an additional entry, 2 additional entries actually. So we see one for VLAN 10 and one for VLAN 30. This VLAN 10 is coming in on PR1, so that will be host 1 from switch 1's MAC address. All right, so the last thing that I want to show you here is how to configure static MAC addresses for layer 2 interfaces. Now, if I jump onto R1 and I said interface E1/1, and normally when you do a MAC address, you say MAC address, and we will say 5074.abcd.1234, and it says the MAC address cannot be configured on switched layer 2 interfaces. So what we have to do a MAC address here, we would say MAC address, is it from here? Actually, I don't think it's from here. Let me have a look. MAC address, no. So let's come out of this. To do it for a layer 2, and we know that a static MAC address takes preference over a dynamic MAC address. So for whatever reason you wanted to give a static MAC address to interface Ethernet 1/1, this is how you do it. So we come out, we go to the config, and we say MAC address. Is it like this? Maybe not. Okay, let's try again. MAC, like this. MAC address table, static. Okay, let's give the MAC address. So if I wanted it to be 5074.abcd.1234 for VLAN 10 interface E1/1. Now when we look in the MAC address table, show MAC address table, we can see that we have a static address, and to really just look at just that one and not the rest of it, if I say show MAC address table static, this is it here. Oh yeah, and the last thing that I wanted to check, so even though we've seen the static MAC address, the last thing that I wanted to check is to make sure that our port channel is up on both sides. So if I was to say show port channel summary, yeah, and we can see I tried to create a new one, which is a routed port channel. We'll probably look at that when we go into our layer 3 interfaces, but you can see that a big P means that it's up in the port channel. So Ethernet 1/4 and 1/5 are up in the port channel. The protocol being used is LACP because we made our channel group mode as active on one side and passive on the other. A big S means that it's a switch port, and the U means that it's up. Okay, that's excellent. That's all for this side. I will see you in the next one when we have a look at spanning tree.